what I'm going to show you today is how to change colors in the geometry sticky, because sometimes you like to use color to highlight different components of the constructs that you've made so that students can see them better. So I'm going to get a geometry sticky, and I'm just going to kind of move it central. I might even make it bigger. And I'm going to start with a circle, and I'm actually going to turn off labeling first. So again, for those of you not familiar, settings and any sticky you're in are the 3 dots, and when you go to the 3 dots you can turn off auto labeling, which I like to do because a lot of times I don't want the label. So I turned it off, I hit OK. So now I'm going to construct a circle. Default color in Classpad is blue, so anything you start constructing is automatically going to be blue. If you don't change that, everything will be blue. So let's say I wanted to change the circle and I've already constructed it and it's blue and I want a different color. After you've constructed anything, circle, line, segment, polygon, whatever, if you select an object, so I'm selecting the circle, notice how it gets a highlight around it, and if I go up to the arrow that's either on the right side or the left side, depending where your sticky is, I want to go to properties. Properties are where colors reside, and it's also how you can change the line, whether they're dotted or dashed or solid or thicker or smaller. So it's blue now, default color, but I want this particular object that I just selected to be red. So let's make that red. So now I have a red circle. So notice that the center of the circle and the point that controls the size of the circle did not change to red because I did not select them. So they are still blue. And now if you notice, nothing's selected, and I'm looking over here at my color, my color is still the default color. So it only changed the one object I selected. So selecting an object and changing its color is one way to change colors. I can also choose to change the color by changing the color before I actually construct. So let's say now I want to make a green radius. So I'm going to change the color first, get my segment tool, and now I'm going to end up with a green segment because I chose that color before I constructed. Now my default color is green because I changed it. So if I were to make another radius, it would also be green. Another thing, so let's say I now want to make an arc. So I want to have a piece of the circle that's going to look different, that's going to be different from it. So basically I'm going to draw on top of this with a different tool. So down here, here's my circle tool, but I want to see just a piece of that circle and I want it to be a different color. So I'm going to keep it green. So here's my green, and I'm going to select the arc tool, and the arc tool works similarly to a circle. I start with the center, and notice my color's green now, and I go out to the radius, and I'm using this point here so that my radius is going to be can control the size of the circle as well. But now I'm going to basically follow along the circle, and I can stop anywhere. This is an arc, and so let's just stop here. And so now you'll see it looks like I have a green on top of my red, and the green is that separate section. And now I could get my segment tool and connect there, and now what do I have? I have a central angle with an inscribed arc that is green, and if I were to measure this angle, because green is still selected green, so now everything is coordinated. My central angle matches my central arc here, the arc that's intercepted. They're both green, and so that's a nice visual for students. Well, how do you do that if you have, and let's just hide, for those of you not familiar, if you have a measurement, measurements come with two things. They come with the label, the measurement, and then you get a sticky out here. This sticky out here is used for dynamic calculations. So if you know you're going to be using this to maybe add up a different sum of angles, you might want to leave it there, but I don't need that. So I'm going to select my measure and go over here to my functions and go to visible, and here's where I can hide that sticky that I don't think I'm going to need, and I really kind of want to hide the label too. I just want the measurement. And now, because I constructed an arc that's sitting on top of the circle, I can measure this arc separately than the circumference of the circle. I can measure just the length of this arc. So notice I selected just the arc because I constructed it, and if I go to measurement, I can measure its length as well. when we get to arc length. So different things you can do. Let's talk about how do you construct, because we did secants just recently. So let me get a line and let's actually change the color of the line. So before we construct the line, this is another way to change. I'm going to change the color of it. So let's make it be purple. So I'm going to construct a secant. So we know that one point has to start on the circle and the other one has to be on the other side of the circle. So now I've simply selected a secant, right? So that's a line. But if I'm working with students, I want them to see that a secant line is got 2 points on the circle, but these 2 points have a segment that's in the circle or a chord. And I want them to see the chord that is part of the secant. And so I want this chord to be a different color. So I can't just select this because notice that's the whole line. I have to do very much what we did with the arc tool. I have to basically get the segment tool and put a segment on top of that in a different color. So I'm going to get my segment tool, and before I construct it, or actually we could do it after. So if I construct the segment and it's in the same color, it doesn't look like anything happened. But if I select it, because I put it on top of the line, notice there's a segment on top of the secant, and now I could change the the color after the fact. Let's make it orange. So now I can see that this secant that goes all the way through has a chord that is part of it, and this is helping students. So color is a great way to show students the differences in the prior knowledge, but to change colors in Classpad.net, you're basically going to draw the object that you want, so the part. So arcs are part of the circle, so I'm going to draw that and color it differently. I'm going to draw the segment on top of my line so that I can color it different. You need to have a separate section put on so you can change just the color of the piece you're looking for.